Greetings, everyone. My name is Files. I'm joined by my good friend Clearmouse, and we are here to do some commentary on what is set to be a very exciting match in the group stages here of the SpeedGaming Live 2020 Link to the Past Randomizer. How are you doing today, Clearmouse?
I am doing fantastic. I have been looking forward to this match, I think, ever since they posted it. So this should be a really exciting matchup. We have Gem facing inthenameofDT. Gem, fun fact, is actually the second place winner of last year's SGL in person. So he's quite interested in defending his title or potentially even taking the final crown this year. DT is certainly no slouch of his own. He has actually made significant progress. And for example, in the LCP ladder, he was actually quite the high contender. Very skilled runners, both of them. This should be an awesome match.
Oh yeah, and both of these runners did a really solid job in the qualifiers too. So yeah, this is set to be a pretty hype match. They both have winning records in their group right now for the group stages of this tournament. So yeah, I'm pretty excited to watch this one. And with Boots start, I think we're just gonna see some blazing fast times and hopefully some really cool strats.
Oh yeah, Boots start. No, I mean, who can say no to Boots, right? In fact, I think Boots is probably one of each runner's favorite items.
Most certainly. I mean, it's not like one of these runners literally changed his name to Boots only player on the ladder for a week or two. So,
or the rest of the season, yeah. that's not Gem at all.
No, exactly. So yeah, this should be pretty hype. Both runners have, like you mentioned, real high skill level, both in terms of execution and routing. So yeah, two obviously the most important skills in this game, with a little bit of luck dashed in. Of course, luck is a skill. So we'll have to see, what opening routes these two runners take, what decision trees they kind of go down. So yeah, it should be a really good time.
Yeah, and of course, with starting Boots, even though these runners can dash quickly, I think one of the best items they could probably find early on is a sword to go with those boots. Because if you've ever tried dashing through enemies with just the boots and no sword, you're not in for a good time. So hopefully you can get a weapon pretty early on.
Well, and a lot of time those dash lines, you're so used to having, especially if you're a player of the regular game speedrun, you always have a sword. So by the time you get the boots, you're just so very used to dashing through everything. So yeah, you are correct. Adjusting your thinking to those boots. And both these guys turn on their camera.
Oh no! I mean, one of actually the best things about SGL and seeing the webcams for these runners. I mean, it's just super cool not only to see the player behind the runner, but also their reactions to when things happen.
Oh yeah, and there's plenty of ridiculous things to react to in the randomizer, which is why it's still fun to watch. Yeah. But yeah, we've already got some opening route variation. Gem going straight to Sanctuary, hitting up those bonk rocks. DT, a filthy uncle router. That's right, I said
it. That's right. I'm in full agreement with you, Files.
But I mean, yeah, obviously, people are used to starting off with the uncle because in the vanilla version of the game, obviously you start here. And to be fair, these items are pretty free and easy to get in the beginning of the scene. But sometimes it's better to route them in with the rest of the escapes, so you have weapons to complete the rest of it. But knowing that your opponent is more likely to go to Uncle is also a meta call too, so you don't want to put it off too long because you might miss out on an item. So it's there's definitely a lot going on even in the first couple of minutes here.
Oh yeah. All right. So actually, Gem is
powder
being nice, giving us a lumberjack check there. That is, the powder is always really nice to have. I would be probably more worried about something being a magic bat. So hopefully these guys can find a mushroom and then potentially fake powder if they need to, and not have to go through lumberjack. But it does kind of take away a nice safety that these runners have.
Yeah, I think I'm way more worried about the fetch quest aspect of it than anything else. But I mean, you can always fake powder with Cane of Samaria and mushrooms, so that'll probably be something I think these runners are going to be keeping in mind. Gem was lucky enough to get a bomb drop from an enemy early, but it turns out the bush crab, or excuse me, it turns out the one of the items in the Lost Woods was a 10 bomb drop, so that's always nice to get.
Yeah, you said luck is a skill, right?
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Well, I mean, we joke about it, but honestly, playing in such a way that you mitigate the effect of luck and can say, well, if the worst case scenario happens, how well positioned am I? That is a skill actually, and managing your routing and execution around those things is definitely important. So yes, clear mouse, luck is a skill.
Luck is a skill, certainly. Gem certainly won't turn down those 10 bombs, as we see his first users of one gonna bomb the back of Blind's hut here and claim himself 5 items.
Yeah, you always want to enter, if you can help it, you want to have 3 bombs, because you need 3 bombs to open up all the bombable walls in the Kakariko village, and then you also want to have at least 50 rupees going in so you can check the bottle vendor, because you can get another 50 just from being in the city, like Gem just grabbed 30 right there. So yeah, already being well stocked on bombs and loaded with rupees, both these runners are going to be doing just fine.
Yeah, not only that, Gem picking up our first bottle from the back of Blind's hut. This is actually going to give us a nice sick kit check, very convenient. He will give you an item if you present a bottle to him.
Yeah, it's so nice to get that early. It's just one less thing, one less gotcha to have to worry about. In a game filled with gotchas, it's just really nice to be able to check one off your list.
Yeah, man. All right, see, these bombs are really paying off here, right? In the back of Blind, we had our first bottle. In the back of the well, we had our moon pearl.
Yep, gotta have that.
Yeah, looks like we also found bombos. A really nice medallion to be able to just clear out a room if you don't have to fight those enemies, but we do need that sword in order to be able to use it, in addition to some magic.
Yep, Bombo's arguably the most useful, like item gating wise of all the medallions, because in addition to potentially opening up 2 locations like the other medallions, Bombos can also be used to destroy gating an ice palace like the fire rod, so you're never too sad to see Bombos.
Yeah, we've never had situations where the Bombos locks fire rod. Never.
Oh, well, I mean, and honestly, depending on where, sometimes if you find Bombos like mid-late in the seed, you really start worrying about, you know, like, oh god, does this mean I have to go to Ice Palace? Especially if I don't have the fire rod yet. Turns out all that talk about Sick Kid and the bottle, you know, wasn't particularly relevant, but again, it's just nice to cross it off the list.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just the fact that he even gives you an item, you just have some peace of mind. Meanwhile, we found one of our first pieces of Dark World access, and a lot more Light World access is the glove in the back of the tavern.
Yeah, always nice to see that. Okay, flippers.
Yeah, more accessibility here and mobility.
Yeah, definitely, especially since neither runner has really visited the South Shore area yet. But the flippers and the gloves, independent of each other, will put like the Zora check in logic. So on top of everything else. So Gem's thinking twice about that race game money.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, speaking of which, you just mentioned that with the flippers and with the gloves, Zora needing 500 rupees to pay him off is like doubling logic, right? So I don't know. I mean, how are we gonna get up the 500 rupees in this case?
Yeah, I could see it going both ways. I mean, going through the race game is a pain and it does take time. So you really only want to do it if you like need the item that's there. So I don't know. I'm curious to see what call DT will make. I'd say going for it is not like a bad decision. So curious.
All right. Meanwhile, Gem's gonna take those gloves, do the back of escape, 3 quick checks. Nothing really of note, but we do see that there are 3 items in the back, which means that if we do the front of escape, or just Hyrule Castle, we know that there's gonna be a map there.
Yeah, DT's shaking his head. He's like, I gotta go get this money. It is also worth pointing out, I believe the small key for escape was in the sanctuary.
That's right.
So Gem did technically have the ability to go through the back, but like doing that with no way to kill the rats other than bombs in the dark is just a bad decision. Like you're gonna want to come back, you know, when you have either the ability to see or a better killing method. Bombos would be great, but if you had a sword, you would probably just use that anyway, because the key is not visible in the dark. So.
Yeah, all right, so Gem doesn't seem to have any more money issues. He just picks up 300 rupees from the dam.
Well, I mean, that'll still put him, you know, coincidentally, Clear Mouse, that'll put him exactly 100. So, I mean, this could be a relevant divergent point here. Pretty hilarious though that both runners opted to do the same checks.
Oh my gosh!
Oh my god!
Oh man, did you say something about luck as a skill?
Apparently the International Bank of Hyrule is like my crazy uncle that keeps money in his mattress. They're just like, hey, invest with the Bank of Link Hylia. We'll throw your money in the water.
That's right. Yeah, like instead of under the mattress, now it's just gonna be underwater, right? Totally good for safekeeping.
Gem does have a limited amount of bombs here. Opts to, you know, actually this is a good strat. So when you have a lot of health it's almost better to walk the bomb into the mini Moldworm and take the damage hit because that guarantees that your precious resource of bombs are not wasted. So,
all right, actually, so look at that. We have what 7 minutes in. Jem picks up his first sword, making the game fully playable now. He's gonna be much happier, much safer, dashing over to Ice Rock Cave.
Yeah, I think DT went back to. I think he was trying to set up a Houlihan room for Zora money, which is not a bad strategy. But I think you could see him shaking his head there. But I mean, he's going to be pleasantly surprised by the sheer vast amounts of cash that are in the dam here. So on one hand, he'll be relieved, but on the other hand, I think he'll know that he just bled some time to his opponent. And both these runners are of high enough skill where you really want to be bleeding any time to anybody on either side.
That's right. I mean, as you said, these runners are extremely talented. Any amount of time that you can save over your opponent is going to be to your advantage. And really, you know, even though he did kind of make his way over the second time to the back of a skip to try and set up the goal again.
DT just walked out and skipped. He skipped the front chest in the dam. I mean, it ends up not being relevant because it was money, but I wonder if he realized that.
I also, that is actually a good question, because maybe he was just so thankful that he, you know, was like, oh, well, thank goodness I don't actually have to Houlihan now, because it was actually saved me some time. And maybe he just got so excited that he forgot about the other item. It won't hurt him, as he said in this case.
I mean, it ends up not hurting him, but that's could have been scary. All right, so meanwhile, Jem water walking, which is a neat trick to do some of the flipper checks a little faster. Hilariously finds the green 20 rupee drop, which is the game's replacement from where the boots were. So, but nothing too exciting so far, other than just getting these checks out of the way. But yeah, if DT goes back and rewatches this, I think he might cringe a little bit at skipping that damn item there.
It's okay. I mean, luck is a skill. It only is going to come back and bite you if it actually ends up hurting you.
Yeah, most certainly.
Oh wow! All right, those are really nice flippers. Jem following the logic, finding the hammer here in Waterfall Fairy. That is our Dark World access already at less than 10 minutes. Yeah,
that's pretty fast. I mean, neither of these runners actually ended up going to the Eastern Palace area at all. Whether or not, I mean, because DT is on the same path, he will get there. The time difference now is that extra Houlihan attempt, and then of course DT did check the front of the uncle side of escape, so that's most of the time differential right now.
Yeah, and so Jem's gonna here check Zora what he has for us for 500 rupees. Nothing of note, but he's gonna go pick up that fire rod that's sitting up in Zora's ledge.
Yes, that is a nice item. So I mean, I guess that gets rid of our potential fire rod hidden in Ice Palace behind Bombo's theory, but what you gonna do?
Yeah, so this actually should put all of the front of escape into logic. So we can always access the front of escape for Cargo Castle, but there is also an additional item that's potentially in Dark Cross. With that fire rod and advanced logic, we could actually potentially light up all of the torches and get there. So I'm wondering if Jem's actually gonna go there, sooner rather than later.
I mean, with Dark World access, like it's one of those things where, especially Jem having not done any of escape. All right, that is quite the busy map. Meyer Green, Skullwoods, red pendants. There was a red crystal in there somewhere too.
The only thing I ever see whenever Jem does a map check is Thieves Town, because I know he has some opinions about if it's a pendant or not.
But yeah, getting back to that point, I think a bow and hype cave. All right, so with hammer and bow and fire rod, I can't remember. I think pod was a crystal, so Jem is just gonna go up there. Like, there's almost no reason not to at this point. But what you're really hoping for at this point in your routing, okay, well, Jem's making me a liar. What you really hope for in your routing at this point is some place that'll give you mirror access, because there is just a ton of checks that you can do right now that would be like pair really well together. If you could do Eastern and pod, or if you could do pyramid check and then get that escape that you mentioned, like mirror really helps tie a lot of those checks together. So I suspect Jem is doing, since he doesn't have the mitts and can't go further up Dark World, I suspect he just wants to get these checks out of the way. They're pretty popular first check route for a lot of runners. So I think he's kind of covering his butt a little bit here by doing these checks before going anywhere else, which is a kind of a smart heads up play.
Oh man, first dig. I think Gem just has really good luck with that shuffle.
First dig Gem. Wow.
But of course, he's flush with cash, having to pick up 600 rupees there from the dam and the sunken treasure. He doesn't need any more money. He has enough for a chess game. He had enough for dig game, and he has enough money for pod.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like this play because what I think Gem's going to do, we don't have a mirror, right? And meanwhile, DT actually, this is some cool route divergence. So DT is opting to do the Kakariko area checks instead. And again, Skull Woods is accessible with the sword and that fire rod, although DT doesn't know it, but it is a pendant. Whereas Gem is going to take this bow over to Pod in Eastern Palace, do Eastern Palace first, and then take the War Point and likely finish up Pod. So yeah. I think Gem doing it in this order, it makes sense just in terms of Dark World access order, and also in terms of, if he's worried that his opponent might have gone to Eastern Palace early, by doing this check sooner rather than later, he's minimizing the impact of any big item gains over here. So I do like this play.
Yeah, so fully clearable crystal dungeon, and no one really likes to route Pod without the mirror. So if he can find the mirror here before he ends up going to Pod, this will be a really nice benefit for him.
Yeah, I mean, not having the mirror is definitely slower than doing this with the mirror. So there are downsides to it too. I do like DT's idea here that sword and fire rod really do speak to Skull Woods, and we all know that.
Yeah, sorry. Meanwhile, Gem picks up the mirror in the first chest of Easter.
Yeah.
And that is very convenient for Gem. He's gonna finish up Eastern here, but the rest of his rounding is gonna be super nice with that mirror to be really efficient.
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly why odds were pretty good that check wasn't going to be that these checks weren't going to be anything, but you really kind of cover your butt a little bit by doing them. Meanwhile, DT found what is potentially the most annoying check that you could get, which is shovel. Tying those in with the other Dark World checks aren't super useful until you have the mirror, which of course we know is an Eastern Palace. So
yeah, and actually this could be potentially good for DT, because if he ends up going over to Hype Cave and gets the mirror, maybe he can also combine some of the checks in Dark Grove as well.
Well, the mirror of course being in Eastern Palace, yes. the bow by Hype Cave. Yeah, I mean, what I suspect he'll end up doing is kind of doing the Dark World South loop. He's going to check this high value Skull Woods check. Front of Skull Woods, very likely to have items that are useful.
Have we seen any items yet come out of Skull Woods?
We saw a shovel in Skull Woods, and I believe that is it so far.
Okay. All right, so it looks like maybe one more check here, and then if it's not here, that means the last item is going to be locked by the fire rod in the back.
Yep.
The suspense is going to keep going here because we found the big key, so we have to go bomb jump over.
Yeah, I'm curious how hard DT is going to commit to non-green pendant Skull Woods. Okay, there is an item in Firelock Skull Woods. It seems like a bold play to go for it. Yeah, and DT's saying no thanks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty reasonable play. I suspect we'll get a quick bumper cave check here. From DT.
Yeah, no mirror means that he can't really do Graveyard Lodge because he needs mirror to access that, so he probably just end up going down south to Village of Outcasts and Thieves Town.
Oh yeah, well I mean he's got the hammer, so I mean we can full clear ourselves a Thieves Town. I mean this is pretty standard routing here for the most part in terms of what to do with Dark World access. Gem has definitely hit more pay dirt with his checks with the bow leading to mirror. But I mean, DT will get there. What I suspect will happen is he'll do Thieves Town, continue doing the loop, and then walk over to Hype Cave, and then just take that over to Pod. Now he won't get the mirror there because it's in Eastern Palace. But he could consider doing what Gem did and doing the save and quit first. But who knows? Does pick up Master Sword though from the chess game in Thieves Town or in the Village of Outcast area. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's right. And given that neither runner has even really dived dungeons before this point, that a second sword is really going to pay dividends over Gem's fighter sword at this point. Meanwhile, Gem. Wait, what did DT find?
DT just found the flute.
Okay, that's also a really nice thing to have.
Yeah, that's actually that's a really good item, I think, for Gem. Had definitely picked up a lead just based off of the items that he had picked up. But I think DT picking up the flute here is going to do a lot of stuff to maybe pick him up some overworld travel speed. I mean, I suspect Gem is going to head over this area next because it's a crystal dungeon he can full clear. You know, just the sooner you have access to these time-saving items, you know, it's like if you're in a seed that doesn't start you with boots, like the sooner you get them, the more time you can save on every screen. And flute's the same way. Like the sooner you get the flute and activate it, the more time you can squeeze out of it from just not having as much overworld movement. So
yeah, I was actually curious if Gem was actually going to either check the Hashlo's closet or actually just take the portal down and do Palace of Darkness, since he's kind of in the area. He did have a really nice quick armor skill, and he made his way through the dark room of Eastern Palace pretty well.
oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, Gem's routing is pretty straightforward here. I mean, he's just gonna go do pod, and then, you know, whether or not he wants to do like, you know, the dreaded catfish, which seems to get a lot of runners, and then include it in, you know, because he's got that mirror. Like he could do pyramid, mirror, do escape, and then go up and do catfish. Like that is a thing that he could do. But you know, he's got this crystal Thieves Town, and you know, he's got to know in the back of his head that Thieves Town is a, you know, a common routing alternative to what he did for an opener. So the longer he puts it off, the longer he won't have flutes. So
yeah, no, actually what you brought up was actually a really interesting path, right? Because he, with that mirror in hand, he can do both light and dark world checks kind of along his path. So one viable option really is for him to run out of pod, check the Hospital Closet in the light world, and then go check Catfish, and then just take the north dark world route instead. Right? You can check King's Tomb, you can check Graveyard Ledge, you can check Bumper Ledge, and then also just kind of make his way over to Skull Woods and Village of Outcasts.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, it would make sense, but you know, that routing, depending on what he finds, could help out DT a little bit, just because, you know, Gem will be later to get the flute, but you know, Gem will just be making all kinds of checks on the way, so it's still pretty early in this seed.
Oh yeah. I mean,
but these runners have gotten like quite a few items already, to be honest with you.
Yeah, a lot of options, right? I mean, we saw the route divergence pretty early once the runners kind of entered the dark world, and you know, both runners are making significant progress. Right, I didn't see anything else in Thieves Town. I think I saw some money up there in the attic.
Yeah, the sword has been the kind of the main get, well, and the flute obviously, that was in the very front. But I believe it's been flute, sword, and money. So I think Blind's got one more item. So we'll see what he's got. Or she, rather, has got for our runners here.
Is Blind male? I mean, I guess I can't really tell because there's just this like demon head and then there's no body.
Well, you know, Blind is disguised as a maiden, so...
That is certainly true. Do you know anything about this fight, Files? It looks like DT's trying to, like, you know, stay, you know, on script or something.
Yeah, the fight looks predictable, you know, almost as if it goes to pattern. And, oh wow, Kane of Samaria in bow-locked pod, and meanwhile Blind, which is 100% a scripted fight, by the way. I don't know if you knew that, Clearmouse.
I know that now today, Files. Thank you.
Yeah, Blind not having anything particularly exciting. So yeah, this pod Eastern route continuing to pay dirt, or to hit pay dirt, and Gem showing off some cool tech with some Kane of Samaria Ancilla stuff. It's actually possible to dash through. Through the barrier there.
That Kane of Samaria was actually a really nice pickup for Gem because he couldn't do it otherwise.
Yeah, that's quick thinking, you know, using the items you literally just found, like not a screen ago.
Alright, meanwhile, it looks like DC's going to finish up the South World part, picking up his second bottle with the ferry inside the brewery. So he's going to do dig game. He's going to do his first try dig with 50 rupees. My guess is he's probably not going to go pick it up, but I guess we can still see.
Yeah, I'm actually super curious as to what...
So I guess he didn't want to pick it up, but you know, so if you are a well-timed...
Take this money, you don't have any choice.
That's right. Yeah, sometimes your first try dig is actually going to be right where the person or like the gatekeeper is, and if you end up digging up an item, like then you can't really avoid it.
So Dark Maze and Pod having Book of Mandora. So the Eastern Palace Pod area has just been loaded. I'm really curious because DT obviously will get to those areas. Like he's gonna pick up his bow right here, and that will lead him pretty naturally to the Pod Eastern Palace area. But the order in which he does it in could be relevant here. He might be, although, you know, he's gonna have to walk over to Eastern Palace no matter what he does eventually because the mirror is there, so I guess it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, I would be certainly quite curious to see if after Hype Cave, as you said, he just immediately goes to Pod. And if he does, he will probably actually lose a little bit of time over Gem, because Gem has, in this case, the mirror to route Pod, and DT will have to probably death warp out.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a huge time loss, but again, the margins for this race are going to be pretty tight, so you want to pick up any, although, you know, DT was able to route in Dig Game and Stumpy Check without having to walk over there and then save and quit out too. So DT's routing has also given him some time save benefits as well. So yeah, it's again, we're still pretty early in the seed, so it's really hard to tell who's got an advantage, because DT is going to be shortly picking up the items that Gem has gotten over here, and really it just depends. You know, is Gem going to do that route we discussed with the overworld kind of counterclockwise around the dark world with the mirror checks, or is he going to ditch out and just head straight to like the Thieves Town area to get a crystal done? Like I could see both choices being in the mix.
Yeah, I mean, Gem has quite the available options for him. Meanwhile, it looks like DT is actually going to head into Pod. So he's going to pick up quite a few nice goodies here, but unfortunately, yes, as we said, he doesn't have the mirror, so his time in spending pass can be a little bit longer. However, he does have a one-sword advantage over Gem, so his clear of enemies across his path is going to be probably faster.
True, although the amount of enemies that you're killing with a sword in here is not too high. I mean, Gem is forced to use the hammer on the turtles, just because it's the most damage output, but you still have to double slash the turtles with Master Sword too. So I would posit that the Master Sword is not as big a time gain as you might think in this particular palace.
I was actually mainly thinking of the beetles. So if they kind of like get in your way, or you kind of don't like know how to, or you know that they can try and bully you. And with a Master Sword is definitely much faster. Oh, DT also showing us some nice sword games.
Yeah, I was gonna say the biggest time
bars.
save is probably in the room he's about to enter, because sword slashing there is definitely faster than like having to line up arrow shots, just because the arc of the beam is pretty wide. But yeah, DT's gonna lose a bunch of time, you know, just not having the mirror, as you mentioned.
Yeah, it looks like meanwhile, as we were talking, Gem had a really fast and damageless Helmasaur fight. Super clean there.
Yeah, he did a neat trick where so if you smash the Helmasaur like hammer, like the faceplate, right as he's about to spawn those annoying fireballs that fly all over, you can actually like despawn the fireball. So Gem actually stood there and waited just for a second or two, because despawning those is actually faster than waiting for them to pass or to get knocked around by him. So kind of a cool little trick. Yeah. Meanwhile, DT showing us what like a really smart version of the mirrorless pod routing here, being able to, you know, a lot of runners would mirror out or do bonk arounds or whatever, but since he did not have the mirror, he's just kind of trying to get pod done in a series of loops here. So definitely making the best of his no mirror situation.
I know for what equipment DT has, or lack thereof, he is doing an extremely efficient job of routing this dungeon.
And speaking of efficiencies, the answer to our "what is Gem gonna do?" question has been answered. Gem has bailed out of those overworld options and is just opting to do dungeons, which honestly, like, the whole point of this game is to get 7 crystals and then punch Ganon in the face. So the more time you spend going to places that is not, you know, that, and Gem's gonna be rewarded, right? Like, I mean, now we still don't know what's in those checks on the overworld loops and stuff. But Gem's going to be picking up his flute, which is going to be the logical access to portions of Death Mountain. So
yeah, and given that
we have not seen the lantern yet.
I wouldn't be surprised if we never see the lantern in this run at this point. Yeah, but yeah, more importantly with that flute, this is actually be a little bit more efficient for Gem. Having the mirror here, he is after Thieves Town, he's just going to get the mirror and activate it immediately.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, but the importance of the early mirror with like the Dark World was relatively quick in this seed. You know, it's not like it was a 25-minute AGA 1 Dark World access. So the sooner you can get the mirror in an early Dark World seed, the sooner you can utilize those mirror efficiencies. So even though Gem got the flute later, like it matters a little bit less because he's still gonna end up activating it before his opponent.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, yeah, because DT's still here in pod, he hasn't gotten an opportunity to activate the flute. So actually, it probably turns out, all things considered, Gem might actually be the first person to activate the flute and use it. With that flute, I can certainly see him going to the Mire area. This will be really good knowledge for him. He can check what the medallion entry is from Mystery Mire, even though it is going to be pendant, but he also gets some nice quick checks from the Mire Shed and Checkerboard Cave.
Very true, although we do need the mitts to access the Mire area, unfortunately.
You're right. This sounds really familiar.
I mean, I like the play. I'm so excited about the play that I'm like,
You're
but
right.
no, do need the mitts. If I had to guess, Gem will finish checking like the Village of Outcasts stuff. I can't remember if he got all the chests around Thieves Town or not. But then he will immediately mirror activate that flute, and yeah, as you mentioned, he'll be making flute related checks. I don't know if it's going to be like Death Mountain. I suspect is going to be high on the list, but
yeah, with that hammer and the flute in order to get up there, we don't have we have logical access now to the mountain, not because we can flute up there. But yeah,
we can flute up there.
Hammer
Hammer mirror will get us access to the east side mountain. It is kind of crappy. I mean, it's a lot of checks, but Death Mountain, just because there's a lot of them, doesn't necessarily mean they're more valuable. It's just what items are gated by. I think that it always feels bad to go up there, especially the long way. Like hook shot, it's pretty fast to get over there, but with mirror and hammer, like you got to climb the mountain, like do 2 mirror transitions, and then like a whole extra screen like it's a much faster or a much slower path. So yeah, I actually have no idea what Gem is going to do. The Death Mountain seems reasonable, but Gem is a very good router, so I'm about to see what he decides to do.
Yeah, and given that Tower Hera is a crystal, that could certainly be his next goal in mind. As you said,
good point.
We're in a position to clear all 7 crystals and punch Ganon in the face.
DT opting to do the turtle fight in the dark. And he does it reasonably well. Yeah, that was actually pretty well done.
I think both runners, to my recollection, also did this room in the dark. I mean, it's just
Gem did light the torch with the fire rod.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Yeah, I saw a lot of black screens on both these runners.
I was actually impressed with how well. DT did a really nice like hammer jump. So like doing the pod dark maze in the dark is annoying. Like it's just one of those rooms you have to memorize. But doing it backwards with the hammer jump is not to be underestimated. I think it's a little more difficult than you might guess. All right. Meanwhile, we've got simultaneous boss fights. Gem once again demonstrating that blind is in fact a scripted fight. So yeah, and you could see he's already quick swapped to the mirror. He's like, "Get me that flute, son."
Yeah, that's right. That's right. A nice feature with Quick Swap here, enabled for every single scene, is that you don't have to open up your menu to switch items. You can just push those L and R buttons and save yourself some more time. Gem knows exactly where to mirror, so he doesn't mirror bonk. It's almost as if he's like done this before or something. Yeah.
I think the big time difference here is that DT has just done a few more overworld checks. DT spent time doing portions of escape, and then also check the front of Skull Woods. Now, again, Skull Woods generally tends to be a high value target. So, interesting. So DT is...
Yeah, he might be taking this north route that we had speculated Gem might be taking earlier.
Yeah, well, I mean, DT's already done... He's already done portions of escape, so I think the calculus is a little bit different for him. It's like, well... he hasn't done the full back of escape, but having already done part of it, he's like, you know what, I'm just going to get this pyramid check out of the way. I'm curious to see if he's going to go all the way to Catfish.
Oh, wow. DT finds the mitts on the pyramid. Holy cow, that is...
Clear Mouse, he must have known they were there.
Yes, absolutely. this is actually going to be a little bit interesting because
Yeah, this game got real interesting.
Yeah, so some of the least frequently checked locations is Pyramid, is Catfish, and Graveyard Ledge. So not having those myths for Gem actually could be.
Well, Gem could. I mean, he could do kind of the opposite of what we were are like doing in the reverse order. Like he could flip her over to Catfish from here. Like that is a thing. You know, flip her over to Catfish and then swoop down to Pyramid and then do Pyramid checks and then mirror do escape. Like might be his potential plan. But a lot of people will also stop. Oh my god.
Alright, pretty major finds here on both these runner sides. Jeez, DT's picking up the myths and the cape from Catfish. Meanwhile, Gem finds the hook shot in Graveyard Ledge. These are really major progression items in completely out of the way locations.
Oh, is he gonna? This is gonna be crazy. So if Gem doesn't prioritize Pyramid, having a little trouble with King's Tomb there, Gem.
Yeah.
You can see him laughing. If Gem doesn't prioritize the Pyramid, and he's got this hook shot, like, and mirror, and Swamp Palace is a crystal, like, he could just go there. He's going back out to his... He's fluting. He's... Oh, no. So...
Oh, he's going to Mire. Okay, so...
No, he doesn't. No, he's going to Desert because he's got the book.
Desert, that's right. Okay, so is that another 300 that we don't need?
So what's going to happen here is I suspect Gem is going to full clear Desert. And then he's also got Tower of Hera and Swamp Palace, and technically, yeah, not Ice Palace because you need the myths for that. So I suspect we're gonna get a nice full clear of those 3 dungeons, and then Gem is gonna be wondering where in the hell are my myths.
Yeah, this is actually a really good point because I mean, Gem, I guess, is in myths go mode at this point.
Yeah. I'm looking. Yeah, we don't need Ice Rod. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, so that totally stuck up on me at least.
Yeah, it snuck up on me too. At 35 minutes, we're in no mode. Wow. Okay. Well, so this game got real interesting. So DT needs to go get. I mean, he's gonna find the mirror at Eastern, right? He's got everything he needs. He's got the flute, right? He's just doing the checks that are like handy right now, like getting this dig check out of the way. But he's probably gonna flute over to Eastern. He's also got the book, just like Gem does, to do deserts. So I mean, yeah, it's gonna be when does DT get up to Graveyard Ledge, and when does Gem get to the Pyramid? That is exactly. Yeah, I would argue that DT is potentially in a worse place just because the myths open up so much. Like he's gonna have to worry about like Dark Death Mountain and like, do I go into Misery Mire or Turtle Rock that are both pendants?
Yeah, this is
whereas
really
Gem without the myths but with the hook shot, what that does is it maybe makes regular Death Mountain a little bit more attractive to do, but you know, you have to go up to do Hera anyway, and he'll probably full clear Swamp Palace, maybe, depending on whether he wants to skip left side swamp.
Yeah.
So yeah,
no.
if I had to give an advantage just based on the items alone, I would probably give it to Gem. DT is also a dungeon or so behind just from all those overworld checks. But again, the overworld checks did give him a sweet mitts.
That's right. Yeah, no, you actually bring up a really good point because Gem is in Mitsuko mode. There are, if he knows his logic, which I'm sure he does, he knows that the myths can't be in Turtle Rock, they can't be Mire, and they can't be in Ice Palace. So this actually gates a lot of the potential locations for where myths are going to be.
I mean, he also literally can't get there.
Like... That's right, exactly. Right, so like, so a lot of, there's so much of the world that's just like closed off to him. Right, so he's probably going to end up finding those myths sooner rather than later. Whereas DT, with those myths, does he want to dip Turtle Rock? Does he want to dip Mire? Does he want to dip Ice Palace? Right, he can't go into Swamp. Oh, sorry, he can still go into Swamp, but going to Swamp Palace with a hookshot doesn't seem super attractive.
Yeah, what I'm actually the most worried about is, like, is DT at some point going to save and quit? And then since he has the myths, if he does King's Tomb from the light world, because Gem had to do it from the dark world, so he was able to tie in Graveyard Ledge check with King's Tomb. But DT has the ability to do it from the light world, so it's very easy to kind of just incidentally orphan the Graveyard Ledge location, and that will spell doom for DT. So we're going to want to be looking out for it. Basically, if he ever saves and quits instead of flutes, I'm going to be a little nervous.
That is actually a really good point, because DT is already in Catfish, he has already chucked Thumper Ledge, And so if he, as you said, does Kingston from the Light World, there is so little chance that he's going to go back just for Graveyard Ledge until it's probably his last location.
I'm gonna assume that was a refreshing bottle of water that Jem was drinking from, and not some kind of adult beverage.
I did not want to bring that to any attention.
Well, isn't Perrier water that kind of green color? I'm not.
Oh,
I'm an uncultured swine. I'm like Jem.
Well, so I mean, Jem, I think, is from Germany. I'm not actually sure what they actually have over there. I'm not sure what if it was ginger ale, personally.
Better beer than we have, that's for sure.
All right, so Jem is just kind of clearing up what he has in desert. He got his crystal, checked Gina for thoroughness, hadn't got another heart container for his trouble. Is this going to be a mountain play?
Yep. I'm actually a little surprised he's not doing swamp, because if swamp did have mitts, I guess he'd be in go mode, right? So never mind. Maybe he's getting these checks out of the way. You know, again, in addition to what's efficient, you also have to consider, like, good runners will consider, like, all right, what would my opponent have done? You know, what can I do to minimize getting got, so to speak? So I don't know if that influences his decision to do, you know, Tower of Hera instead of Swamp Palace, but I don't know. We'll see.
DT making his quick way through, had a little bit of trouble with the Igors, but he had a really nice recovery. On to fighting Armos for that quick kill.
Yep, nice setup here. This should resolve quite nicely. What? I'm sorry, DT.
Slightly close, but luckily he has just enough arrows to take down So normally the quick kill for Armos is that he wants to shoot the same number of arrows so that you want to kill the last one before it turns red. So you can do that if you time it correctly. But in this case, too much time had passed, so DT had to fire 3 more arrows to kill him.
Yeah, I always get nervous when I'm like, if you don't have silvers, your arrow count becomes actually relatively important. It's something you have to manage. A lot of the arrow drops in this game are actually in Eastern Palace and Pod, like in terms of things that are in pots. So there are a few incidental ones you can pick up in like Desert or Turtle Rock, but being exceptionally low on arrows is, you know, because you need arrows to get through like Ganon's Tower and a few other places, of course, unless you cheat. But it's always something to keep in mind.
All right, looks like Jem has made his way up to the mountain. It looks like nothing is Spectacle Rock of note because we know where the myths are. So he is going to give us a demonstration of another technique called Hera Pot, which is if you hookshot yourself into this pot here, you can get all the way up to the tower without needing the big key.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I think the thing to keep in mind here is whether or not there's going to be an item in the Hera basement, because Jem could lose a lot of time, and there is.
Yep. Jem is not happy.
No. Meanwhile, DT making, honestly, what I think is a pretty smart play here. The depth of like how far the item requirements go, or like the various spheres of items unlocking other items in this game, have actually been relatively short. So if I'm DT, I'm actually suspecting that Hookshot is probably locked behind the mitts. So I think, you know, and again, not only thinking that, but like Ice Palace is a crystal, right? Like, why not just go get it done?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I do like this play from DT here. I suspect we're going to see this and probably Hera or Desert coming up as well. So we're just going to be seeing these runners both completing a lot of crystal dungeons and not finding what they need. It's going to be the story of this seed, I think.
Yeah, I mean, not only DT's here with the Kidness Mario, which means Ice Palace is going to go a lot faster. He also employed bombos in that room with the Pen Gators. Normally, you can do, if you have the hookshot, you could just use hookshot and kill them with one shot, but he doesn't have it. But he is quick to think on his feet and just use bombos to kill everything.
Yeah, it's you know, you could spend a lot of time doing terrible Master Sword spins or just get it done with bombos, so. Meanwhile, Jem bonking his way through the top of Death Mountain here.
Now, as far as I know, he knows that there's an item in the basement, but because he's in one item mid-skill mode, looks like he is going to potentially save that item until later. It is actually quite the amount of time commitment just for one item, and given that there is all of Paradox Cave over here for East Death Mountain, it's definitely much more lucrative.
Yep. And also worth noting too, because of lack of hookshot, DT actually has to take the intended path to this big chest.
Oh my gosh, we have to do something the intended way? Files!
Yeah, I know.
What
I'm
are we doing?
offended. This game sucks. Blah, blah, blah. But it also means he has to go get, you know, otherwise you'd have to risk like wacky bomb jumps and stuff like that. So there are multiple ways to route Ice Palace. A lot of them, you know, learn your bomb jumps, kids. There's the big important one if you don't do Icebreaker, but there are several other bomb jumps in this zone as well that can be relevant depending on what your key count is, where they're located, all other good stuff. Meanwhile, DT goes to all the trouble to pick up possibly the most annoying chest in Ice Palace and is rewarded not with his last missing item, but with a small key. Lame. Meanwhile, Gem, working through Paradox Cave, is not going to find... It's just kind of funny to me that, like, all these runners are, like, running around, making all these, like, super amazing checks, and, like, we know where the item is, and they've got, like, 3 crystal dungeons to complete.
Yeah.
we know that they're not going to find it.
Right.
We are getting a nice tour of Hyrule, though, in terms of just blowing through dungeons. I mean, when you're DT and you Icebreaker Ice Palace, it's a pretty fast dungeon, so...
Yeah, and you know, just given the divergence of our runners, we get to basically see like almost everything in the game, right, between our 2 runners.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm really curious to see if Gem is going to commit, because the odds of there being an item in left side swamp are pretty high. Like, both map and compass would have to be over there, and like Big Key would either have to lock itself or be easily accessible early. So it's pretty likely that there's going to be at least one item in left side swamp. So if Gem is willing to skip the item in Hera basement, you know, is he willing to skip left side swamp? Meanwhile, DT's health getting a little low, but not scary. All right, he does finish it off.
I heard no heartbeats, therefore I did not panic.
Gem got a little bodied by the Annie Fairy in the dam, so you could see him laughing. He's like, you know what? You know what gets rid of the sting of Annie Fairy damage and Magic Drain? A smooth, refreshing beverage.
Yeah. Alright, Gem's going to be the first of our 2 runners here into Swamp Palace. So actually, as you were kind of speculating about whether or not Gem would do left side swamp, so I would actually like to say potentially not, in that Gem still hasn't done the front of escape or Uncle, and he has the mirror, so that actually can still be quite an item dislocation for him.
Oh sure. There's also like the relative value of locations over time as well too. Like, after a certain point with a seed like this, I mean, both these runners know that this is a fast seed, right? Like, they're both looking for one item, and everything else is relatively accessible. So I think, you know, Gem prioritizing, you know, Desert and Hera and all these places are, you know, you have to get crystals, but you also have to consider, like, if I don't go to these places and my opponent did, like, how badly am I about to get wrecked? Oh, we're getting a pedestal check.
Unfortunately, just a little piece of friendship for us today. We know that, of course, these runners don't need anything, but it's at least a load off of DT's mind.
That's actually a really clever check, now that I think about it, in terms of, like, what could have been on the pedestal. The hookshot is definitely one of them, so in a 1v1 scenario, getting those big scary checks out of the way is something to think about. DT is almost lucky that
that's right.
Misery Mire was Ether, because he literally can't get in there. If Ether is like inside this mid-locked mire area, I would not blame DT for going in there, and he would be terribly wrong.
Yeah, and Mire is definitely not a fast dungeon. It has 2 items that you're looking for, but they could be scattered quite far apart. Especially if the last item's on Vitreous, like, are you gonna actually go and kill it? And it's also for a 3rd one for a green pendant too.
And one thing I just realized that I didn't think about, we didn't really discuss, was DT having mitts actually gets his access into Desert. It's actually a little faster. He doesn't have to do the cutscene. He gets straight to the side entrance. So he actually does gain a little bit of time over Gem, just because of those mitts. So this is one of those scenarios where DT benefits just from the item divergence that these 2 have.
Alright, looks like Gem, at least for the time being, is going to skip out left side the first time. I did see that he picked up the big key and a map, so... Oh yeah, there's items over there. I mean, when you're one item from Go mode, doing left side swamp first is just... Like, there are not a lot of, like, objectively correct and incorrect things to do in the randomizer, but that is one of them. Like, if you're one item from Go mode, like, and you're doing Crystal Swamp, Yeah.
go to the back first. There's more chests on the way there, and you have to get this boss killed anyway, so...
Yeah, speaking of getting this boss kill, looks like Gem's actually gonna go for some quick kill Armos strats here, doing some dash pokes with hook shot. Unfortunately, Armos is just missing, or is moving a little bit closer to them than...
Argus.
Yeah, Argus. Thanks.
No problem, I got you back.
Same boss. just a little puffier. Unfortunately, this is not actually quite cooperative, so Gem's actually just looks like he's doing some...
Yeah, his dash poke setup... he certainly had about a bad luck because Argus could move either a large distance or a short distance. And if he moves a lot of the large distances, you just end up getting kind of punished for those dash pokes. But he did also, and then he missed his fire shots.
he's got plenty of chances here left.
Well, this is good for DT though, because the more time that Gem wastes on some of these fights, the more time the DT has to eventually make his way up to Graveyard Ledge. And we did discuss that the DT just has more things to do with mitts than, because the other thing that Gems can do that DT can't, that he just completed, right? There's a swamp right here. So yeah, I'm really curious to see where Gem's gonna go next. He's out of Crystal Dungeons to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's doing it. He's going back. Yep. This is huge for DT because we know this to be a waste of time. And this is time that DT's not going to have to spend because he'll be in go mode when he goes through here.
That's right. Yeah, we're actually going to see a full clear Swamp Palace from Gem versus going to be a go mode Swamp Palace for DT. Time difference is actually going to be quite significant, as we said. Now, of course, maybe Gem will find a third sword on left side Swamp, in which case that will actually be quite the advantage for Gem. Temper Sword versus Master Sword, especially for Ganon, would be really nice. Of course, not so far in the first chest.
Although now it is worth pointing out that Gem will also be able to go mode Ice Palace, whereas DT had to spend some time going to like the Ice Tea chest and a few other things too.
That's
so
right. He ended up,
I would argue that left side Swamp is worse than that, but it's something to consider.
Yeah, and we can see that because Gem is opting to do left side Swamp after coming into Swamp the first time, he can't really do Diver Down, so he's gonna have to do this the intended way.
Gross.
I know. You can tell by Gem's facial expression that he's absolutely loving every minute of it.
Yeah, he's like, I love doing left side Swamp the least optimal way. Hell yeah, sign me up. I'm surprised he's not bracing himself with another delicious sip of beverage.
I was actually curious about that too. Alright, what's in check for alright, this is gonna be an advantage for DT because Gem is definitely he's not gonna get this for he's definitely not gonna get this because he's gonna
he'll have no reason to go
straight
here.
Up. That's right.
Yep. Yeah, he'll in fact if he ever goes to this area at all, like I will be shocked. Because once he gets his mitts, like he is gonna go do Ice Palace and then head straight up Death Mountain. Like he will not give any craps. All right, so we're getting our left side Swamp check. No need to hold your breath, guys, because there ain't nothing here.
I mean, there could be silvers over here. There could be another sword. A Gem has counted. There are no good items here in Swamp.
I do like DT's play here because obviously he needs to do Hera, but because he has mitts, he's just gonna bleed a ton of time doing.
He's gonna do Dark Death Mountain too.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't you though? Like it makes tons of sense. But I think DT is just gonna have a really hard time getting to Graveyard Ledge. Now he has not done that thing we talked about. He has not saved and quit out of Sanctuary and done like the King's Tomb check, right? And like really isolated it. So there, the hope is still alive there. But it's in terms of like just volume of checks and depth of checks. It's not a recently unlocked check that feels higher priority. It's I mean, he basically had that. That was. Since Mir was in Eastern Palace, like the hookshot was technically available the instant they entered the Dark World, in terms of like spheres. So,
all right, Gem Air looks like he's going to try and clean up as many mirror checks as possible. So, my guess is that after this, actually, our Great Tracker Duo actually put out earlier that when Gem defeated Tower of Hera, it was a 5/6 crystal, and looks like he actually has the option to do Pyramid Fairy as well.
Yeah, it's not a bad play.
Yeah,
he did get that. Did he get the shovel from? Where was the shovel? It was Skull Woods.
Skull Woods, so he does not have it.
So that's actually Gem's laughing because he just got bodied by guards there. I think I think Gem has got a lot of like cleanup to do that will let DT make up. Because DT spent time doing front of Skull Woods. DT did the right side of Escape. So what I suspect is going to happen right now is Gem's going to take this bomb to the tower or to Hera, you know, and then whiff, and then he'll find Mitz on the pyramid.
Yeah. Yeah, you actually see Gem try to go a little bit faster there, taking some damage so he can hook over, and now we're going to see a really nice bomb dupe. If you transition on the same screen, right as you were dashing, the bomb is like, oh yeah, hey, I'm still here.
Yeah, just kidding, guys. I was here the whole time.
Yeah.
But yeah, Gem is going to be entering go mode here, which is just bad news for DT because
52 minutes and like 18 seconds. Gem's like, forget that explosion. I'm gonna go pick up my mitts right now. I'm heading straight to Ice Palace. Almost straight to Ice Palace because he's gonna open that pyramid door. I know this is a really fast check. If there's another sword in here, he'll be pretty happy.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's just you get it done.
Yeah, all right.
Wow, Ether hilariously. That is amusing to me. Ether locked.
The lock green pendant liar. That's right. Alright, okay, so now we see the mirror. Gem is going to. Oh, yeah, Gem is. That's right. He hasn't been uncle yet. He's definitely hoping because to find that third sword because no one really wants to do Master Sword Silverless Ganon.
Does he not realize he's in go mode?
He should, right? I think he's just looking for another sword. That's my guess.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. Actually, you know what? Those are high meta checks for, you know, people that route early game. Maybe Gem knows that he is a uncle router, so he didn't want to get hit with like a silvers or a sword there. But yeah, there we go. I suspect that that's what he was doing. But yeah, Gem is going to enter go mode. So yeah, I think what the thing we discussed earlier ended up being true. I just think that Gem had way less things to do with no mitts, you know, as opposed to what DT ended up doing. So
yeah. No, you're absolutely right. The mitts lock so much more stuff than hookshot, and sometimes, you know, you actually really want things to be a little bit more maybe linear, or you know, you want to find the items in the order in which you are forced to do the least amount of checks.
Yes,
or
exactly.
have the fewest number of options to you. Yeah, and that's exactly kind of what happened in this case for Gem. You know, I would actually say if the mitts and hookshot were reversed, right? If the mitts were in Graveyard Ledge and the hookshot was on Pyramid, right? You know, this could actually be a very different race.
Oh yeah, certainly. Most certainly. All right, so because Gem is in go mode, you're gonna see him. He will do Icebreaker, but he is gonna go flick this crystal switch first because if you're go mode Ice Palace, you don't really plan on doing a lot of like chest checks. It's actually better to flick the switch before you go down because then you can just drop straight down into the weighted switch room right before Cold Stare.
Oh no, 10 gators! He's totally getting bullied here.
He's gonna get hit by the anti-fairy. Oh, he moved it.
Yeah, I was actually saying, like, when he hit the switch, it was actually really nice use of the hookshot because the Bari, I think, was electrifying at the time. So if he actually slashed with his sword, he would have gotten electrocuted, but instead of using the hookshot for some precise hitting. Yep.
Yeah, Gem is definitely going to be checking the easy chests here. He is facing down a Master Sword Silverless Ganon, which, like, he's not worried about his ability to execute on it, I'm sure, but what he is worried about is the sheer amount of time it takes. So he is going to be grabbing these, I think, relatively straightforward checks on the way, just hoping he finds a sword. And that's an advantage that DT certainly has. Like, his extra checks did bear fruit for him in terms of a sword in the Misery Mire area.
Don't worry. So Jem's got the mirror shield to protect him from Master Sword Ganon.
Yeah. Yay.
Oh, really nice ice movement there by Gem.
Like if DT ends up having like silvers and like a butter sword going into Ganon, that would be pretty hilarious.
I mean, he's gonna probably, as you said, clear a lot more of this overworld.
Oh, please be Ether, Turtle Rock.
It is Ether. Oh,
yes.
That is really nice for DT.
Oh,
wow.
DT
All right.
getting. Oh man, and Ether, of course, was in the Pyramid Fairy. So it is worth noting that is a checkable location. So if DT ends up doing that before going to Graveyard Ledge, he could be in a lot of trouble. He's going back for Hera Basement.
Like,
Can't say I blame him, really. He's probably gonna do this and like burn a spike cave, maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think, you know, like he's probably just gonna finish up his route here. You know, he's hoping that he's never gonna have to come back to the mountain right after this trip. So you may as well do these checks while you're here, because the last thing you want to have happen is to climb the mountain another time just for another tile room.
Yeah, I mean, It makes a ton of sense. It's just we know it not to be the right answer. I do like DT's writing though. Now that you pointed that out, like it's like, you know what, I'm here. Let's clear this out so I don't have to come back. The only reason he would come back is at this point is if he got ether, because if he got hook shot, you know, he's done. Like he would just go mode swamp and be done with it. But...
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Meanwhile, Chem very quickly finishing off Cold Stare. He with those mitts. And go mode and finish up the 7th crystal, he is ready to head up to GT.
Yeah, he is heading up. I mean, I mean, how often he's gonna enter GT like sub-hour? Like, that does not happen very often, Clearmount.
Oh yeah, no, these guys, so we hit no mode, I think pretty suddenly at like 34, 35 minutes, right? And he hit go mode like 50-some minutes, 52? Yeah, and he's already up to GT. Like, this has been a blazingly fast seed. If only he went to Pyramid earlier, like, he probably could have done this like 5 minutes earlier.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, like, if this had been a large race and there were like a lot of runners, you know, someone was gonna finish this seed. Like, someone was gonna be entering GT at like 51 minutes. You know, both these runners ended up missing a key item. I mean, you're always looking for the last item when you play rando. Oh, interesting.
Yes,
so the lantern was in Burna's Spike Cave.
Yeah,
that actually makes a lot of sense. Huh, I like it. So you would have needed, I guess, with bottles and
you did have the cape.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like cape because you had to have that too. Where was the cape?
The cape was a catfish.
Ah,
so,
yes, you're right.
Definitely accessible from the very beginning.
A catfish required seed, assuming Kana Burna isn't like in the back of his cape or something.
Yeah, so
Gem
also,
digging for a sword.
That's right. Yeah, this is very he's totally on his way. Very 4 fast quick checks here. Unfortunately, it does not bear fruit today, but I mean, it would be very like if there were a sword in here and you pass this up, you might feel kind of silly afterwards.
Yeah, I'm actually, I'm not gonna lie, I'm surprised to see Gem making those sword checks. I think he's I wonder if he worries that, or I wonder if he thinks that like, oh man, like I'm entering GT sub-hour, like I got time to look for a sword. I mean, and he does, but he does not know that. I am a little surprised to see him digging for it, but I guess the time difference between Master Sword Silverless and Tempered Silverless is pretty extreme. So
yeah,
like we're talking minutes.
All right, looks like meanwhile DT has continued to chase after his mislock locations. Going to turn in the Smith chain here. He does have the mirror, would be a little bit more efficient. And he's going to do hammer pegs, but unfortunately, we know this won't lead to anything.
And again, this all makes sense, right? Like,
oh yeah, you know,
like if I were DT, right. I'd be like, all right, hook shot probably mislocked, like probably. I mean, you don't know for sure, but you know, and he's grouping checks together well. Like he's getting all this stuff done. Now, obviously,
what we fake powder here. I totally forgot about that as well. He has no magic?
Well, they don't have the mushroom.
Oh, that's right. Oh man,
yeah.
That's right. It was so close.
That would be a pretty sweet play though, since we know that powder is on Aghanim. That's probably something that's on DT's mind, I suspect, and probably was on Gem's at some point.
All right. Yes. All right. Meanwhile, like Gem here is in GT. He found a small key.
Oh, so Kana Burna was in GT, so actually Catfish Cape technically logically required for the lamp. That's really interesting.
Yeah, Catfish was logically required for the seed.
Another Catfish seed.
That's right. Yeah, so it looks like nothing in Compass Room, which means that Gem mirrors out, and he's going to go full left.
Yep, when you're that low on keys too, you got to pick up that torch key. You'd have to be at like 3 keys to be able to skip that. All right, so yeah, Gem just making his way through. Yeah, he's low enough on magic where picking up those extra magic drops is a smart idea.
Another
again with
safety. Really
I mean,
nice.
Gem actually, now that I think about it, with Master Sword Silverless Ganon, not only is it Master Sword Silverless, but he has no lantern, so all of his torch lighting will have to be with regular magic, Fire Rod, which I don't know if you've ever done Master Sword Silverless Fire Rod Ganon, but it sucks. Like,
you know,
yeah,
I concur with you. The good news for Gem is that his first
got bottles
is a green potion, so at least he has a little bit of buffer. But
yeah, honestly,
yeah,
if he didn't
really
have a green potion, as good a player as Gem is, like, because I think it's possible to do that fight. I could be corrected here, but I think it's possible to do that fight with Fire Rod only, if you are absolutely perfect in your execution. I think you have to get all triples and you have to torch glitch the very first fire rod shot. And you could do all that with basic magic and no magic refills. But that is insane. Like in a high pressure tournament scenario. So yeah, having that extra bottle will make the difference for sure.
Yeah, I don't actually know if you ended up catching a glimpse of DT's reaction was when he visited Swamp or is doing the dam now.
Oh, he saw the chest?
Yeah, he realized that he didn't open this chest, and then when he opened it and saw 300 rupees, he was so relieved.
Oh man, no, I missed that. I was too busy wondering where the BT Vicky was. Good eye.
That's right.
Wow.
Well, there's so much action going on both sides.
That's why the cams are so great. Like just to be able to watch people's reactions to. I mean, and now like DT is like going into hook shotless Swamp. Like it seems like a reasonable play. Like at the time, especially compared to his alternatives. But it just, I think he's starting to wonder like. If it's in here, I'll win, and if it doesn't, I might be in trouble.
I mean, Hookshotless Swamp, as unappealing as this is probably his most itemless location at this point, right? I mean, are you gonna go north all the way to try and get Graveyard Legend?
Yeah, I think the only more item dense location would be Fat Fairy and to the rest of Escape that he has not done, and even that is I mean, I don't know, like, you start to wonder, like, if the item is there, have I lost already, kind of a thing.
Yeah, and of course, if the hookshot actually just happens to be here, right, you wasted no extra time. You just kind of got here a little bit later than maybe you would have liked to have.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if it were, if it were here and you decided to go to Escape, then you just, like, wasted all this extra time. Alright, so Gem did find the GT Big Key in Bob's chest right before Ice Armos, which is always kind of nice to see. So he doesn't have to fight some more mini bosses. He is on his way up the gauntlet, getting a little bit bullied here by these Igors and Spikes.
I was gonna say he's fighting the bonk boss there.
The red armor does nothing for him against those guys.
The armor does nothing.
Red Mail doesn't do anything. Mirror Shield doesn't do anything. I mean, what kind of safety does this game give you?
Yeah, exactly. Defense is for losers. All right, so yeah, nice. I mean, Gem continuing to do this climb, but he has not been bailed out by either silvers or a sword upgrade. So
yeah, and this is actually going to be a little bit different than potentially NMG runners who have muscle memory here, because Gem is here with the Master Sword, and Master Sword versus Master Sword damage actually can make quite the difference. You can see that things actually don't end up dying in one shot. You have to kind of really slash at them to make sure that you can lose.
And like your other options would be like, Fire Rod, but like our magic is definitely limited.
But yeah, Gem is very conscious because he only has that red. He only has one green potion, and he definitely wants to save that for Ganon.
Oh yeah. Now, I mean, there is a magic refill, after the gauntlet, but that does not help you. Oh, and Gem missed too many Fire Rod shots.
Yeah, and you see he definitely wants to keep some more magic here for the next couple of runs.
Well, because I mean, again, he has to light all those torches. And he has no lantern, so I mean, he might have used one more magic Fire Rod shot than even he wanted.
At least from a viewer's perspective, I actually find it really interesting to see runners basically think on their feet and just be very resource conscious, especially in Gem's case here, is that because you're coming here with less equipment than you normally would, you have to really be careful.
He got bailed out by a magic decanter small drop there. I think he'd have been fine without it. I mean, there are ways to, oh my god, all right. There are ways to mitigate the room. Like, he had enough magic to do it. You just would have had to do it slow. You'd have had to pre-lift all the skull pots and then do a couple of revolutions around the fire bar here. But now he doesn't have to worry about any of that crap. So.
Gem getting 600 rupees of beauty for Sora earlier this seed. First dig game. All right, I think.
Well, to be fair, the dig game luck is the same for both runners.
Yes.
Yeah, and honestly, DT is doing, like, everything the DT is doing makes a ton of sense right now. Like, item dense location. Like, did I get bamboozled by hookshot in the actual Swamp Palace? No. All right, well, let's do the bomb. But now I'm worried because DT is going to get the bomb. He's going to see Ether, and he's just going to be like, son of a... Because that is...
Oh, that is a terrible feeling, right? Because initially when he saw Ether, he was like, oh, good, I don't have to go in here, right? It's totally blocked off. And now he's going to see it. You're right. I don't think he's going to have a good feeling about this.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those things where it's like, well, if hookshot is in these other locations that I have not gone to yet, I've probably already lost. So, I mean, the urge is going to be like, all right, I guess we're going to freaking Turtle Rock. So, yeah, I don't know. DT wisely, unwisely resetting the bomb, but wisely quick swapping to mirror, because regardless of what is in this location, he is going to be mirroring, so.
Mirroring, potentially fluting. Alright, yeah, meanwhile, Gem finishing off Molder too. He almost got the better of him. Oh no, GT.
GT just shaking his head. He's like, son of a, oh god. Because he knows the implications of that ether, and they are not good.
Alright, meanwhile, Gem is taking down Aga 2. I think that looked like a triple.
That looked like a triple, yeah.
Alright, how often do you get to see post?
Oh, Gem, you could have gone for the double triple there. Boo. Alright, does manage to 3-cycle him though. Very nice.
Also using a red potion, looks like just for safety. He wants to start on his Ganon fight right.
Yeah,
meanwhile,
this is going to be... Yeah, I mean, I don't blame DT. Like, it's like, I don't want to freaking go into Pendant, Misery Mire, or Total Rock this late. Like, what if it's in Escape, right? Like,
yeah,
I get it.
No.
Gem technically never checked this, by the way. So this is all stuff we're seeing.
It's actually not often that you get to see runners just never checking escape, but in this case, Gem didn't have to.
Yeah, you don't see an escape check during a Pyramid Ganon fight re-entry very often either. So keep your eye on the right side of the screen, because Gem is about to do a pretty difficult fight here. This is about as hard as it gets for Ganon. I mean, I guess he's got red mail, which means that he can sacrifice some body damage to get clear hits in, and really nice positioning from Ganon there. If he's ever one tile away from an edge, you saw Gem getting the double Master Sword swings in. You could only damage Ganon with the Master Sword with a charged up sword spin, so.
Yeah, Gem doing a really nice job here. Try to get some better positioning in order to kind of maybe Ganon can teleport a place where Gem can kind of like nestle himself into a corner, because you actually see the knockback that Gem is experiencing. Oh,
I just see DT just like visibly annoyed, because he's like, I've got to do it. I have to go into Turtle Rock, because if you're gonna go into an ether dungeon, right, Turtle Rock is the most like item dense. You've got the 5+ Mimic Cave, and not only that, but he has to go to it without the hook shot. You have to go all the way up the mountain the slow way with the hammer and the mirror. So it's just a giant field bad man.
I am glad though that DT actually recognized that he doesn't have the hook shot, because oftentimes, your muscle memory just says, okay, let's go to Death Mountain, and then let's go right over the bridge, and then you don't realize until it's too late. It's like, oh, let me go back and I have to go this roundabout way. Meanwhile, I also do observe that DT must have found a nice goodie in Escape, because his arrows are silver and Gems are still wooden.
Oh, yeah.
I guess Gem was never going to get silvers this game.
No. Well, Gem is going to make his way, like, his phase 2 Ganon was relatively safe. I mean, if not very fast. I mean, you could see how long. See, did you find the arrows in the Hyrule Castle? Gem was like, no, I did not, sir. Actually, there's something to be said for, like, if you fall or die in this fight and you're here, like, mirror and then go find the silvers. Oh no, Gem missed he did get the torch glitch, which is very important for this fight, but he is missing all kinds of hits off of Ganon here, so. So yeah, all right. So yeah, you want to get as many triples. I believe it's 24 Master Sword spins on Ganon.
It is. Yes, it is.
So yeah, you have the math matches up, because you have 8 shots with a fire rod without half magic. So 8 times 3 is 24. So yeah, you would need absolutely perfect execution.
I'm not good with numbers. I'm gonna have to take your word for us.
But yeah, luckily Gem has the extra potion. So DT finding half magic in the front of Turtle Rock.
Well, if he gets to Ganon here, he is going to have quite the faster Ganon fights. Half magic, tempered sword, silver arrows.
Yeah, I mean, Gem is going to be finishing while DT is an entire GT climb and a dungeon away. So DT could end up finishing this up, but I suspect that there will probably be a forfeit just for time's sake. But who knows? This is one of those seeds that's going to be frustrating because like DT is making like a ton of super reasonable, like makes sense. Yeah, like I totally get it plays, and it's just hookshot was somewhere like very early in this seed.
Yeah, and right now there's kind of like nothing really kind of gearing him towards Graveyard Ledge. Meanwhile, Jem has put in his final Master Sword spin against Ganon. He just needs to wait for this fanfare, cross this 1x3 bridge, and he will be the first varsity runners to finish up this race.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Jem finishing up with an official race time of 1 hour, 12 minutes, and 1 second, matching his on-time clock. So, yeah, and DT sees the finish and is.
It looks like he has decided to call it quits.
Yeah,
well.
I don't blame him.
It. Yeah.
Yeah, just got really bamboozled by this seed. Things were looking real interesting when one runner had mitts and the other runner had hookshot, and they were each missing each other's items. But yeah, I think it just ended up being that mitts had just so many more places that DT got sent down, whereas hookshot locked a lot less places. So, but yeah, get your GGs out in chat because that was definitely a good match from both these runners, and they both put on a good show. For sure.
Oh yeah, no, both runners performed very, very well, both in terms of the execution as well. I mean, Jem and DT are both very, very strong runners. Just yeah, as you said, it just happened to be that just with the way that the progression or the item placements line, DT I think got kind of like the shorter end of the stick because it's locked so much more than hookshot.
Yeah, definitely. Well, it looks like we are joined in the booth by both DT and Jem. Congratulations, Jem, on the victory, and GG to both of you.
Yeah, GG's, guys. Yeah. Good race.
Yo, Jem, GG's. Sick time. Really, really great time.
Thanks.
Yeah, that seed was crazy. You guys both had one item that the other needed for a long time, and it was pretty fun to watch you guys route.
Yeah, we talked a bit about it in the race room, and I just got really lucky that I found hookshot before the mids, because if I had found the mids first, I probably would have also skipped Graveyard Ledge for a long time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like when I went to activate the flute, like obviously it did bonk rocks early because we start with boots. I did King's Tomb right then, so there was like Graveyard Ledge was automatically like the last place I was ever gonna get to.
Yeah, I would have been in exactly the same situation, because I also do King's Tomb there and then just ignore Graveyard Ledge until it's the last thing.
Well, and we kept like trying to come up with scenarios where DT would end up going to Graveyard Ledge, and then Jem was like, oh, he's got to get to Pyramid at some point, and then DT when you found when Ether was found in Fat Fairy, like I was like looking at your camera, and you're just like, oh God, no.
Yeah, no, that was because I knew for a while like that was gonna be the absolute worst case. It was like a breath of fresh air when I saw that TR was Ether, and then I find Ether, I'm like, oh come on. I mean, you got to go for the density at this point, right? Like,
yeah. Well, and it's one of those things too, where it's like, if hookshot is, at the bottom of escape or something, it's like you probably already lost, right? Like you gotta play to your outs, right? And
I was nearly considering skipping out on escape because I had a feeling like, oh, he's probably looking for a hookshot too, and if it's probably not an escape, or else he'd be done by now. And then I went and did escape anyways. I don't know. What's logic?
Well, it's good routing. I mean, you were already there. Hilariously, I'm actually never entered escape.
Yeah, and never needed to.
Well, nice,
Savers would have been nice, yeah.
Yeah, well, anything would have been nice. Jem was staring down a Master Sword, Silverless, Lanternless Ganon. Thank God you had that green potion, man. Or would you have left to go get something at that point, Jem, or would you have relied on a perfect triples?
No, I would have got something for sure. I'm not confident enough to do a completely perfect Ganon.
I'm trying to remember where I even found Lamp. Was that Spike Cave, like another one of those one-offs?
Yeah, so interestingly in this seed, Cape was on Catfish, and Cane of Burna was in GT. So this was actually a Catfish required seed because you needed the Cape logically to get to the Lantern, which was in Burna Spike Cave.
Right.
So like, yeah, you didn't like actually need it, but like,
logically,
don't skip your Catfish, kids.
That's what the game wants. Yeah, I mean, this was just one of those, like, I knew right around the 55 minute mark, like I'm approaching my 6th crystal, gotta find this is gonna be a crazy fast time for one of us. And yeah, I mean, Jem made the right choice. I mean, sounds like from missing a different item, but hey, that's how it goes.
That's random for you.
Yeah. What it really came down to, which is kind of silly, is if I had magic when I did type cave and found the bow, I would have gone right to port and would have gotten the mids on the way, and I would have been in exactly the same situation as you, DT.
So,
in Mini Molom Cave, the big magic dropped on the left side, and I didn't bother going over there, so I was magic-less in the Dark World.
See, when I first entered Village of Outcast, one of the green guards dropped a full magic, and I picked that up.
Oh, I see.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I got kind of lucky there because I never got magic before Dark World. So I decided to go left after the bow and then did EP into pod, and then that way I missed Pyramid.
So the interesting thing for me, I'm a thorough player, so like when I skipped the last item in the back of Skull Woods, like that was strange for me. So after pod, the reason that I actually went to Pyramid and Catfish, knowing that it's a time sink, I don't normally like making that play, was because I had already skipped the back of Skull, and I felt even worse about the idea of skipping out on multiple locations. So had I gone with what I normally do there and not go to Pyramid Catfish after pod, I would have been in that same boat then. I would have wound up going to Graveyard Ledge at some point, mirroring, doing that and King's Tomb all in one. And I mean, you've got any number of scenarios that this race could have taken a different form. It's really, really interesting.
This would have been a ridiculous like qualifier or group seed. Like somebody was gonna like sub hour this seed. Like if there were like 80 people running it.
Oh yeah, easily.
You mentioned you were a thorough player, DT. How did you feel about when you found the first chest in the dam when you went back the second time?
I'm just glad that my microphone was muted.
Oh, that was hilarious.
Well, what went through here? I mean, so what ended up happening at the very beginning when you inadvertently skipped it?
I totally forgot that I had skipped it. Like, when I went back into it later and I saw the chest was closed, I'm like, did I never even come here and check the flooded item? Like, have I literally not been here? And then I see the item's not outside. I'm like, no, I just skipped the chest. I'm a dummy.
I think what happened was you had a debate at Race Game as to whether or not to go get that 100 rupees, for Zora money, which was totally legit. Like, I'm not sure what I'd have done either. And then when you got it, and I think when you got the 300 from the dam, you were like, oh, sweet, I got Zora money. I'm out of here, is what I think happened. Because like I saw you nod your head when you picked it up.
Yeah, no, that actually makes perfect sense. Like the chest became a distant memory at that point, I guess. Like I just completely brain farted that one. So I'm glad there was nothing there.
Nothing important anyway.
was another 300, so I was glad
it was another 300.
Yeah. Yeah, don't invest in Lake Hylia Dam Bank. They don't really do much with your money.
That's
so
all
yeah,
I
that
got.
was yeah, that was a really interesting see, guys. Like you guys were both making really smart plays, like based off of what you had. It just came down to like who had the item that unlocked the most things. So it was a pleasure to commentate, gentlemen.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for commentating. Gem, GG's.
Yeah, GG's. Also, big thanks from me for commentating, guys. And yeah,
thanks. Well, that'll about do it for us here on SpeedGaming. So make sure you keep watching all the great content here on SpeedGaming Live, and yeah, we'll see you next mission.